Good morning, basketball fans. We are excited about this time of year. Every year, it is time for the TBT. It is the best part of the summer, in my opinion. Our guest today is the GM of the Fort Wayne Champs. Our guest today is Garrett Martz. Fort Wayne Champ is are back and better than ever as one of the most experienced teams in all of the field with a 12-7 record. Sky's the limit for those guys. They have a lot of veterans and a lot of quality players. We're going to be discussing the past, present, and future of the Fort Wayne Champs. Garrett, thank you for joining us today.
Sure. I really appreciate it. Excited to talk some TBT with you today.
So, how did the Fort Wayne Champs get started originally in the TBT?
Yeah, so that's actually way back now. This is our 10th year in TBT. So back in 2015, I was working as the vice president of sales and marketing for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants of the NBA G League. Excuse me. And I heard about TBT the previous year, the inaugural year of TBT in 2014, because a couple of our former Mad Ant players had won it with the Notre Dame Fighting alumni team. And I wasn't really sure exactly what it was, but when I started talking to them, it sounded really like a cool idea. It was legitimate. They got paid the money. I think that year it was 500,000. So I decided, hey, I know some guys. Let's put a team in. And we had just won the NBA G League championship in 2014 with the Mad Ants. So basically, I just reached out to that championship team and said, hey guys, let's get back together this summer and make a run at this $1 million tournament. I think I got 6 of the players from the championship team, and then got a few guys from past seasons. And we were at the time we were called Ants alumni, and we made it all the way to the semifinals, the Final Four that year in New York, and ended up losing. But it was just it kind of gets you hooked. You got so close to it, and I've just been putting a team in ever since. It's kind of gradually changed the team format. We became Fort Wayne Champs in 2017. That was after I had left the Mad Ants, so just for legal reasons, didn't want to have any confusion there since I didn't own the name to the Mad Ants or anything. So we became Fort Wayne Champs. I then started an agency with the former owner of the Mad Ants, Jeff Potter, and I started using a lot of clients on our teams as well in TBT. And then from there, yeah, I've just done it ever since, and it's always one of my favorite times of year as well. And such a great experience, and it's just always fun kind of recruiting the players, getting everything organized. It's a lot of work, but it's always fun when the games get here and your practices, and you got to get to see it all come together.
So, we know you've been around from day one, but who else has been around since the beginning? Are there any players that have become coaches or heck, might even still play?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Actually, this year is a great example of that. Anthony Harris is on our team, and he'll be like a player, but also an assistant coach on the team as well. But he was in our inaugural 2015 run. He was one of our MVPs that year that we made it to the semifinals, and he's played with us off and on in it. He still plays professionally. I'm not sure. I think he's 40 now, but he still plays in Mongolia and stays in shape, and is honestly one of the best conditioned athletes I've ever seen. Which he just works out year round, and he'll be on the team. We also have Walker Russell Jr. is our coach. He coached us last year. He actually never played in TBT, but he was a longtime Mad Ant. Kevin Bloom is one of our assistant coaches. He was an assistant coach with the Mad Ants for a year or two back in 2016, 2015, and he's always been an assistant coach with the TBT team as well. I'm trying to think. Trevion Cruz has played with us quite a bit. He's not a former Mad Ant, but he is from Fort Wayne, went to high school here. He's also a client of our agency. He's played with us, I think, 3 or 4 TBTs. He actually won a championship with the Heartfire. I think it was in 2023 in TBT, but he's back with us this year, so that's great. So yeah, a lot of local connections. One guy that's new this year that has some Fort Wayne ties is Jared Godfrey. He was Purdue Fort Wayne. That's a D1 school in Fort Wayne PFW. He's their all-time leading scorer for PFW. He's been playing overseas for 2 seasons now. He's going to play with us this summer. Excited to have him on the squad for the first time. But yeah, a lot of great connections, ties, and kind of some throwbacks from the past, and with some new guys as well.
Excellent. So it sounds like a great mix. You have like you said, the veterans being able to instill the wisdom of experience, and then you have the young fellows who are, of course, very hungry and wanting to make their names just like the other fellows have. What are some of the highlights in the 10 years that you've been a part of the TBT?
I think definitely, the biggest highlight was probably that first year when we made it all the way to the semifinals. And you're playing on ESPN and you're playing on ESPN2 and other games, and just that run and just that group of guys was special because it was that championship squad. And that first year, I think it's for a lot of GMs when you get into TBT, you kind of almost think you got it all figured out. You're smarter than everybody else, and then you get there and you realize how tough it is. And that year, it was tough, but we just had a great run. We've had some sweet Super 16 or Sweet 16 runs, 2018, 2019, that were really fun. Bruce, we had a game where I think we were down. This was in 2019. We were down like 10 points with going into the Elam ending, and somehow pulled it off against the D2 team and won that game. And that was incredible. 2023 was fun. In our first game, we beat a team by 40 in the first game, and that's always nice, just not to have the stress of going to the Elam in a tight game. I remember that game. I was actually booking or I was extending the hotels and stuff like that. The third quarter, which maybe was a bad luck normally, but we were up so much. So those are just some of the highlights. But it's just always, I think my favorite part is kind of getting the guys back together. And usually it's guys that played together before, or maybe it's guys that played together in college and they never would have seen, never got to play together again except for TBT. And that always makes it kind of special when you see the guys interacting and connecting. So those are just a few of the highlights. There's several more I can probably name off though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, just that connection that the players have from past experiences together and being able to reunite it, it makes it so cool. Obviously, the alumni teams that are out there, but heck, even not being a college alumni team, it feels like the Fort Wayne Champs are still a part of that kind of feeling because, like you said, the history that you have.
Yeah, I agree. Originally we were probably one of the first, honestly, professional basketball alumni teams. Now I know there's a team from England coming over, but I didn't really even think of us as like an alumni team. But really, that's what we were originally. And now it's just with the history we have, it's pulling. Sometimes guys will skip a year because they got other stuff going on, but then they come back and maybe guys that played together in 2022, stuff like that. So it's just always cool. It's kind of like a summer reunion. And hey, you're also trying to win $1 million as well.
Can't go wrong with that. So, as a GM, it sounds like your main responsibility is organizing everything, keeping everybody on track. You mentioned even the thing like the hotel rooms. Is that the main part of it, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I mean, being a GM in TBT, usually you're almost a one man show. Hopefully you have some people helping you too, but there's a lot that goes into it. It almost becomes a full time job for a couple months where you're not only you're booking all the travel for the guys. Most teams you're not going to ask the players to pay for their flights or anything or their hotels, so you're taking care of all that. So that means you have to go out and find sponsors, people that want to have their logos on the jerseys or be a part of the team. Be sitting on the bench at games or whatever you can find to sponsor. So you're trying to raise the money because otherwise you're going to have to pay for that out of your pocket, which I've done too much of that in the past. But luckily this year I have a lot of great sponsors and they've been great. And so it's just all that. It's the recruiting. I mean, the recruiting process is tough too, just of the players, because you're trying to convince these guys to play in this. And some guys are just gamers and they'll play anywhere, anytime. But some guys look at it and say, hey, I just played 10 months overseas. I need some downtime. Or you're competing against, NBA Summer League overlaps sometimes, which is here it does as well. So you're trying to find guys who aren't in NBA Summer League. They aren't playing somewhere professionally in the summers. It's a lot of work, honestly. Like you put a lot of hours into it if you're doing it correctly. And yeah, just the logistics of getting everyone's flights booked, hotels. Like, hey, do you book a hotel? Are you assuming you're going to win 3 games, or what if you lose the first game, but you book the hotel or an Airbnb through to cover the whole region, and then you end up wasting a couple $1,000s. So there's all kinds of things you got to think about and look at. So it's a challenge. I don't recommend people to come into it lightly because it is, first of all, it's very expensive. I mean, the team budgets usually range anywhere from 20 or 30,000 to up to 100,000 of the expenses it costs to put a team together just with the travel alone. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's fun, but it definitely takes up a lot of time.
And I understand that there's now an entry fee to get into it. I know in the past there had been an optional entry fee, like if they didn't do well with social media, but I understand that they're now doing that full time.
Yeah, so it started last year. It was a $10,000 entry fee to get in, and that was the first year. It formerly, yeah, it either been a social media, you had to get votes to get in, or it was almost like it's up to TBT. It's an invitation. Like you can apply, but they were going to pick the teams they thought would have be the most competitive, but also be the most marketable. So obviously, like an IU alumni team in our region is going to be much more marketable than our team, for instance, that doesn't have that built-in fan base like the Hoosiers would. Um, but yeah, the entry fee now is at 15,000, so it's a challenge. And we actually, as GMs, a group of us really pushed back, saying, "Hey, this is so hard to put a team in together already, and you're raising the entry fee, and we're just putting an entry fee in a period. It makes it even tougher to raise that enough money to make this feasible." Um, so, but we still, we made it work, and they made some adjustments to it, some benefits back going back to the team and stuff, helping out with some travel stuff. So, but yeah, there is that entry fee now. So right off the bat, you got to know you're on the hook for 15K. So you got to come prepared with either be wealthy yourself and be willing to just do this and fund the money, or have some good corporate partners, some good sponsors that are going to help you finance this event.
So, how do you feel about your 12-7 overall record?
I feel it's a tough. I feel like we had a lot of success early in TBT. We went through a period now recently from 2021 to 2023 where we'd win the first game, then we got knocked out. And then last year we actually lost in the first game to the Purdue alumni team, Ben of Mackey. And that was disappointing because I thought we were, a pretty good favorite over that team, and they were a good team. Don't get me wrong, but I thought we could have done better. But it's just TBT. It's so tough. When I remind myself, it's so tough just to win a game. There's so many teams that have tried multiple years, never won a game, or never even been competitive. So I do feel good always putting a competitive team. I think we're always a team that you don't want to face in the first round. But obviously the idea is to make a run at this and win. So while I'm proud of our accomplishments, there's still a lot left to do, and I feel like the goal is always to win this thing. I feel like it's hard to give up until we accomplish that. So I'm proud of what we've done, but I want to get the job completed. Hopefully this summer.
Exactly. You want to finish that mission, you want to achieve that goal. And do you feel that the ELM ending helps that or hinders it at times?
I love the Elam ending. I think the Elam ending, it's pure basketball. There's no strategic fouling or dragging the game out at the end of the game like a normal basketball game can happen when things get a little close. I think any team you can get back in it, or you can close it out with the Elam ending, and it's all just about playing good basketball, playing good defense. You can't run the clock out, and that's what you see it happen so many times in TBT. Teams that aren't prepared or have never played with the Elam ending, they get to that Elam ending point and they try to rush shots. They're trying to think they just got to get over with. Well, no, just the key to the Elam ending is just play good basketball. Do what you were doing to have that 10-point lead, and finish it off. Where don't start rushing things. So I love the Elam ending. I think it just makes sense. I wish they'd kind of, have it get more widespread in basketball. I know the All-Star game was doing it in the NBA for a while. I don't think they do that anymore. And then there's actually a league in Canada, the CEBL, which is a really good league. A lot of well-known professionals that play there in the summers. They use the Elam ending all season long, and I love that we have a client in Kyle Mangus that plays in Vancouver, so I get to watch a lot of those games. And yeah, I think the Elam ending is great for basketball. I hope they eventually should adopt it. NCAA, NBA, across the board. It just makes way more sense than what's currently being done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it was made the scapegoat of the NBA because the NBA, you always have issues after their All-Star games where they say, "Oh, it wasn't competitive, it wasn't fun, it wasn't this, it wasn't that." Well, it wasn't those things, not because of the ELM ending when they did that. It was because the players just don't care.
No, the All-Star game in the NBA is definitely it's not what it used to be, and it's almost become like the Pro Bowl for the NFL, which is a complete afterthought. At the Elam ending, and I think it did help it. The first couple of years they did it, and I don't really remember what happened. the last time they did it. But yeah, I think it's a great format. It's a great formula. It makes sense, and every game ends on a game winner. I mean, what's better than that? That's the perfect way to end a basketball game.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say you're guaranteed a highlight shot there at the end. You're not going to, like you said, just run out the clock. I mean, that's no fun. Or you're not going to overly foul. So I agree with you. The Elam ending is part of what makes the TBT so special and makes it must watch basketball in the summertime. And I understand that recently they've announced the brackets. You're, of course, in the Indianapolis region. Who's your first round opponent?
It's locked in elite. We are the 5 seed. They're the 4 seed. So right there in the middle, kind of.
Nice. What do we know about them?
I don't know a ton. I haven't done a real deep dive into this guy. I've looked at I've looked at their entire roster. They have some good players, definitely. They're pretty deep. They have some size. They have a couple 7-footers. So that's, always a little intimidating. But they look like a real well-balanced team, good professionals. It'll be a good matchup for us, tough matchup. But hey, there's very few, unless you're the 1 seed. It's really tough to get like a easy matchup, and even those 1-8 sometimes don't go the way you think. So in TBT, it's pretty even. Honestly, it's whoever can come together the quickest as far as the chemistry. And honestly, I know this is a cliche, but just make shots. I mean, you just got to come in and knock down open threes. You got to finish. You can't take stupid shots. You can't try to win it on your own. It's all about team basketball, which I know again is just basketball cliches, but that's what gets it done in TBT. But yeah, no, they're a good team, and it'll be a competitive matchup for us.
No, you're very right about that. I mean, it sounds cliche and all. It sounds like obvious stuff, but it isn't obvious because shoot, a couple of years ago, up in the Dayton region, the number 1 seed ended up losing to India Rising, and yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have bet that for anything. Actually, I thought it was Indiana Rising when I first saw the logo, and but yeah, it's just amazing that how teams can get upset in the tournament because you don't have like a regular season to base the seeding on. So it is kind of interesting how that you're right. There is no easy game. Now,
Yeah, and just a quick point to that too. Also, you look at the rosters right now; they might be very different come game time. Where guys that committed, maybe, hey, I got a summer league offer, I'm not going to make it anymore. Oh, I forgot I have a wedding. Or they sign a big deal overseas, and the team doesn't want them to play in anything like this, and it's tough. So it's just looking at the rosters when they make the seeding; it doesn't always end up computing. Like I remember, I think it was last year in the Cincinnati region, they had several teams or a couple teams only show up with like 5 or 6 guys, and those teams got bounced early. They were a couple of the favorites in that region, so it just created kind of some chaos, which is great if you're one of those lower seeds or I guess whatever the 7 or 8 seeds, and you can take advantage of that. But it just kind of makes TBT fun. You just never know what's going to happen.
definitely, I agree with you. Yeah, last year it was Cincinnati and Xavier who were kind of the staples of the Cincinnati region. They had taken turns hosting it, and then both of the teams ended up losing in the first round. So it really changed the landscape of that region.
No, definitely. I remember that. I remember like seeing that, and just kind of being shocked that both those teams got eliminated. We actually played a Cincinnati team, I think in 2022 or 2021, and beat them, but they were a very tough team. And then the Xavier team, we scrimmaged a couple of years ago before TBT, and both really good teams. So to see them get knocked out that early was definitely a shock.
I know we already talked a little bit about it, about the players that are back from past years, but could you any other players that we didn't talk on earlier?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can just kind of do a quick run through of the roster. My roster isn't really, I wouldn't say complete yet. I'm still in the mix with a lot of people, but because you just kind of want to save that until almost the deadline to add those guys, just to make sure you have guys that will be locked in. But yeah, one guy I didn't mention, his name's JT Shoemate. He's a client from our agency. He played last year. Honestly, I didn't feel like we utilized him enough last year. He came off the bench for us, but he's a great 3-4 man.
Is he that fellow from Toledo?
Yeah, he played a great career at Toledo. He just finished a great season in the Czech Republic with Nymburk, which is a Champions League team, which is a big-time international competition in Europe. And just super efficient player, can shoot it, plays defense, is long. He's athletic. I mean, just a guy you want on your team that will just run through a wall to win. So I'm excited to have him back. And I want to definitely utilize him more than we did last year. Um, Another player, Dwayne Wilson, he had a great season in Hungary. He's played in Germany. He's played in different places, just a good veteran guard. He's excited to play. We have a couple guys I picked up that I honestly don't really have a connection to besides just wanting them to play on my TBT team. But Dwayne, or not, sorry, I just said Dwayne, but Ty Gordon, he played in Turkey this year. He's a really good guard. Just, again, I look for guys that are just super efficient, that you can tell they have a high basketball IQ, and he definitely that stands out. Just can shoot the ball, good defender, good can pass. That can do everything you want in a guard position. Then we also have that played in the same league in Turkey as Ty was Brendan Medley Bacon. He's a 7-footer. He had a great 2 seasons in Turkey. Again, just efficient, can play, just exactly what you kind of want in a big in this. And especially when we're going up against a team that has a couple 7-footers, it's good to have one on our side as well. I'm trying to think. I mentioned Trevion Cruz, Jared Godfrey, Ty Gordon, Dwayne Wilson, Anthony Harris. Yeah, well, that's about what we have right now. And there's a lot of guys I'll be adding here in the next probably week or so, just kind of finalizing everything. But yeah, I feel like we have a great core, and then we're going to add a few more pieces, and we'll be good to go.
Sounds great. Sounds like you got a heck of a roster going. Now, back to a thing you were talking about earlier was boosters and sponsors and how important they are to the success of the team. Could you tell us, thank some of those boosters and sponsors?
You asked me that. Yeah, I was really lucky. I have a friend named Bobby Petrus, and he is an owner of a company in town called Mad Apple Sports Performance, and he is our presenting sponsor and is on the jersey. He's just a great guy, big fan of local sports, and he wanted to get involved, and he's been a big help of getting other local businesses involved. Master Spas, which is based in Fort Wayne, and they're a national company, makes spas, pools for people, and they jumped on board, and they actually let us go over and do like a recovery day in their showroom where we get to use some of their tubs after a workout for the guy. Yeah, it's a great partnership. Rick Evans and Evans Toyota, the local Fort Wayne Evans Toyota dealership, they're a partner. Simplex Security, Nate Roudsong, they've been a long-time partner, and they get to always Thompson on the bench with us, and his son loves it, and just a great partner as well. Fort Wayne Tattoo Festival, there's a couple guys, Jake and Jess Ferris, who are big supporters of the team, and they actually were the Mad Ants courtside season ticket holders who I've known for forever, since 2007 probably, and they always have supported the team. So just you got to have guys like that and people like that. Otherwise, again, you're either funding this out of your own pocket or you're making the players pay. And if you're making the players pay for travel and stuff, you're not going to get the best players, because most guys are not going to be willing to do that. I don't blame them. You're a professional basketball player. You're not going to cover your own travel to come play in a tournament. So you got to have corporate partners to have the funding, so then you can get organized and do things the right way.
Definitely. And then the last thing before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web can our viewers find out more about the Fort Wayne Champs?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and X or Twitter. I believe our Instagram is just FW Champs, @FW Champs. I believe it's the same for X or Twitter, but if you just search Fort Wayne Champs, will probably be the first thing that pops up. Same with Facebook. I try to do some updates here and there. We also I'm helping Jared Godfrey, actually, as a part of Fort Wayne Champs, do a youth basketball camp July 17th, so kind of during our training camp. He's going to have a youth camp at Optimum Performance Sports in Fort Wayne, so if anyone's listening is in the area and has a kid that wants to sign up, there's still time. So that's July 17th at OPS, the Jared Godfrey basketball camp. But yeah, we're all over social media, and love to hear from fans and people that want to reach out. They can DM us or tag us, and love to connect with them.
Sounds great, Garrett. As always, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it.